In this demonstration, we'll take a look at cluster-aware updating. Cluster-aware updating is a feature to update cluster nodes automatically with little or no loss in availability during the update process. As you know, sometimes a software update requires a server to be restarted, and that can seriously affect the high availability of your servers. So CAU is designed to manage the process for you. That means for many clustered roles, CAU will execute a planned failover with only a transient interruption to services. For continuously available workloads, such as file server with SMB and Hyper-V, there will be zero impact to your clients. Best of all, you will not have to manually put nodes in maintenance mode and move services. CAU will take care of it for you. There are two update modes: remote updating if you're on a server that is not part of the cluster, and self-updating if you're on a node that is part of the cluster. Let's start with remote updating. So this is Lund DC1 and it is not a member of the cluster. So the first thing I've done is use the Add Roles and Features wizard to install the Remote Server Administrative Tools, or RSAT, for failover clustering. This just takes a minute. And once it's completed, under the Tools menu in Server Manager, you'll have Cluster Aware Updating. And the first thing that you'll want to do is to connect to your failover cluster. I'll use the full name of the cluster, cluster1.adatum.com. And once you connect, it will show you the nodes in the cluster. We have Server 2 and Server 3. Once that's complete, the next thing you'll want to do is to preview the updates for the cluster. These are the updates that will be applied to each node. You just click the Generate Update Preview List button and it'll take a few minutes for this to appear. So let's take a look at the Create or Modify Updating Run profile. And the Updating Run profile are the actual configuration settings that will be applied to the cluster. Some of these are very important, like the maximum retries per node. And you can have different run profiles for different clusters. Just use the Save As button and create different XML files. And at any time, you could come back in here, browse to a file, and make any changes that you like. With everything in place, it's time to apply updates to this cluster. This is a simple wizard that will put in place any firewall rules you need, let you select the updating run options that you want, and it will also give you a choice to install recommended updates in addition to the important updates that were listed. Once you kick off the updating run will start. You can view the progress of the updating run in the console. There's a log of updates in progress, and there's also an update status for each node. If you change your mind, there's a Cancel Updating Run link on the right, and there's also a link to the Failover Clustering Manager on the bottom. So now let's take a look at Server 2, which is a member of our cluster, and in the Failover Cluster Manager there is a link for Cluster Aware Updating, and there's also a link from Server Manager on the Tools menu. When you select that, we'll be automatically connected to the cluster that the node is part of, and we see some of the same things we've already looked at: apply updates to the cluster, preview updates, and create or modify updating run profile. What's new is configure cluster self-updating options. And this is the wizard that will configure your firewall rules. It'll add the cluster aware updating role. It'll also let you schedule the update rather than have it on demand. You can pick your updating run profile and make any last-minute changes that you'd like. And then there's also the option to install recommended updates in addition to the important updates. So this is very similar to what we previously saw. Once you've confirmed and applied your changes, Cluster Aware Updating will take over the process of keeping your software up to date on your cluster nodes. So in summary, we reviewed the Cluster Aware Updating feature and configured both remote updating and self-updating. And your course does have a lab on this, so take a few minutes and give it a try.